Do you ever get stuck writing a riff? That's okay, I think we all do, but today I want to teach you a system that I use to keep creating when inspiration just isn't striking. And when it is too, actually. I'm going to show you the system by explaining how it helped me create my Riffhard competition riff. If you like what you just heard, I'm very happy to tell you this riff made the top 25 along with another 24 amazing entries from some of my favorite guitarists online. And I really want you to pick a favorite and vote at riffhard.com/Katsi. The link is in the description. All you have to do is pick a favorite, leave a name, email, some kind word justifying your vote, and these are very important. If you don't fill them in, your vote doesn't count. You gotta make this super hard puzzle and select anonymous vote since the Facebook login and all the others aren't working well. Thank you in advance. Now let's get to writing some riffs. Okay, so what if I asked you, how do you start writing a riff? Probably it would be a hard answer to give, and while that's justifiable, we need a plan if we want to write riffs every time, ideas we are actually happy with and proud of. You might be tempted to say something like, oh, I just noodle until I find something I like. Or I pick a meter and a key and I riff on that. I want you to focus on these two concepts I have in my mind when writing a riff. That is intention and then inception. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, first we have intention, and intention is what do you want the listener to feel when you're writing something. This is very important and it's at the core of why we write music, right? For people to listen to it. So do you want the listener to cry when they listen to what you wrote? Do you want them to bop their head? Do you want them to mosh? Do you want them to ponder? I like having this in mind all the time, and for this contest, the intention was basically given to us, so that's a given already. Let me read from the website. Riffs that sounded like they took part from my riffs to make the God riff. The riff that is the highlight of the song and makes you want to lose it. Okay, so we basically have intention handled for us already. We want to write a God riff that makes everyone go, wow. So what does that make you think of? Makes you think of fast playing, makes you think of cool stretches. Immediately, you got your mind in the right place to create a good riff. Only then do we have inception. Inception is actually creating the riff, and here's where I'm going to give you 2 guidelines to keep creating riffs without stopping and getting stuck. So the first part and the first method is what we discussed firstly, which is noodling. So defaulting to your favorite patterns until you find something you like. Why is this good? Because it's very easy to start with. Basically, you're drawing upon your experience and the songs you recently played and your favorite patterns, of course, to get somewhere you like. This is how I started the riff. So basically the chord and the galloping, this is a very João thing, if you ask me. Here's an example of a riff I wrote that actually starts the exact same way. And I never thought of it before, just noticed recently. This was me noodling and defaulting to my favorite patterns. Why is this good? Easy to start. Why is this bad? Easy to get stuck as well. Because when you're noodling, you'll find yourself grabbing the same patterns all the time and you'll get stuck. At least it happens to me. And the second method, which is very important, is playing the notes in your head. So what do I mean by this? Instead of noodling until you find something you like, if you get stuck here, for example, which is what happened to me, because this was all noodling, I decided, okay, so what are the notes I want to hear afterwards? And in my mind it was do 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 do. So these, you gotta listen to them in your head and then try to find them on the guitar. And the cool thing about doing this on the guitar is that there's many different ways to play the same notes. So you can get a lot of different ways to play the same notes and fulfill the intention. So if the intention was to write a God riff that is very impressive, you could aim to do something like this. It is the notes in your head I did miss. but they're played in a super different way, an impressive way, to fulfill the intention, which is make everyone lose it. So you see where I'm going with this? If you alternate noodling with writing notes that are in your head, you can get this flow state of writing that will hopefully help you not ever stop making a riff. You can just stop whenever you want, because you'll be alternating between noodling and playing the notes in your head, always while focusing on the intention. So that is my system for writing riffs, or as close as it gets. So now we can go over my riff and see where I used what strategy. So keep the system in mind. Okay, like I explained to you, this chord is no accident, so it's part of our context. This is one of the chords in the chorus. So that one. This was a noodle for me, and then I wanted to hear. So I just played it. Then I knew I wanted to do a movement that was something like this. So I could start the next bar on the D key, being that this is F sharp. And to get here, this was a bit boring. So what notes did I wanted to hear in my head? I knew I wanted to hear doo-doo. This was something I liked more. But here's the thing, playing the notes in your head on the guitar, there's many different ways to play it. So first thing I did was try a different octave. I immediately liked that more. And then I noticed there is an open string with the note I'm trying to hit. So I can get that dissonance. And then I thought of the intention once again, which was to write a riff that makes everyone go, wow. And I thought, where can I play this note in a more impressive fashion? It was here, that was furthest. So you just slide up to there. Immediately we went from something that could have stopped here and did this. So see, the notes in your head plus noodling plus the intention gets you a cool result. I hope you find this cool. Then again, this was a noodle. It's just the joint thing. It's a gallop and a bend. Then I wanted to reference a Monument song, and you'll have to find out which one it is. If you know, drop it in the comments. Where is this motif from? In a Monument song? If you can tell me, you get a cookie. And then after this, I wanted to hear do-do-do-do-do. This was what was on my mind. So do-do-do-do-do. Once I found the notes, now that we found the notes, where else can we play them? There is only one other place to do it. And you know I'm going to do it. Why? Because the intention is to write an awesome riff. If the intention was just to write a playable riff, I would probably do it here. But since the intention is to write a wow riff, then I modified these notes for some more playability, because I needed to go from this note to this chord afterwards, so I could complete this motion to go back to F sharp. So what I did was add a pull off and then play this note as a harmonic. And the note being a harmonic, you get time to travel down to the fretboard again. And then I knew I wanted to keep this thread of in the end of every 2 bars. So I found a way to do it here too. This idea of following a trend is also very important to keep consistency in the writing. And you'll see these 2 bars, these sets of 2 bars, have similar structure. So take a look. That's one, and then you see how they're similar? They'll both have a little lick, and they'll end with or, which is very cool. Then I repeat it, but I knew I wanted the motion in the chords to be different. I wanted it to be like this instead of. But I also wanted to do the little lick. But I didn't want to repeat the notes. And since I fell into the noodling trap for a while, I decided to play a note in my head. I wanted to go doo-doo. So, but this doesn't really fit our mold of sliding and hitting an open note. This was the first one, but there's no open F sharp. No, no. This is a repeat. This could have been it, so. But it wasn't the note in my head. So, there it is. The thing about playing notes in your head, again, there's multiple places where you can play it. That's the beauty of the guitar, and that's why I love this instrument. So we ended up with. Then I repeated the idea, but let's see if you can tell what's different. It's the exact same notes, but in a different octave. A way to repeat the same material, but with a different variation. Then I knew I wanted the ending not to be really shreddy, but to be something really cool that people would go, "Aw." So there's an interesting intention for a God riff, actually. Thinking that I wanted people to go, "Aw," when it ended, you immediately think of heartwarming chords such as the 9 chord, or even the chord where we start the whole progression, which is this F minor 4. This is not a theory lesson, but this is me noodling on the patterns I know. So that's why it's very important for you to keep playing all the time and developing your new favorite patterns, so that your noodling phase is nice and creative, while the notes in your head phase can get past the places where you get stuck when noodling. This is the system, guys. So here I started with the chords that were in my head first. I knew I wanted to go. Being that this is the first chord of the chorus that I want to go into. So I knew I wanted it to go. And then I thought, what is a cool way to arpeggiate these chords? And I came up with these notes. But this wasn't really an easy way to play it. And again, our intention is to make people go, "Ah." And when do they go, "Ah"? When you give them something like, or that dissonance is very endearing, if you like. I found a way to play the notes in my head in a way where they all ring out. And then you can move on to the next chord, where I knew I wanted to do the same thing. So if this one is, I wanted this one to go. But how do I make those notes ring out? Well, got a little creative. Wow. It's the same notes, as you can tell. But playing this way, they all sound at the same time. To see how this fits with the rest of the song, be sure to go to the site, listen to the entries, vote for your favorite two, and don't forget, what is your intention and what's your system for inception? So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.